We are rolling, so let me push this button. Hello and welcome to the 10-minute Tabletop Talk podcast. I'm here, Grant Ellis, as your host for episode 5, and I am joined by...
Ethan, hello.
So, Ethan, you are currently coming up on the end of a miraculous, tumultuous, exciting, exhausting, probably for you emotionally, Kickstarter. Tell us about the project.
So it's called Garden of the Giants. You play as mice in a magical garden. It's all about exploration and meeting cool animal friends and taking down tyrannical crowns.
And if you were to liken it, not to another game, but maybe like a style of play, like who would be the ideal players, maybe, or player types, or does it appeal to a variety?
So it's interesting because I through playtesting, it definitely plays into people who want to like sit down and explore a space, right? Like it really requires someone to sit down and want to explore all the cool locations. Um, so it just if you have adventure in your heart,
Yeah, and so let's talk about that. So, maybe a completionist who wants to really get a feel for every inch of the earth of the garden, um, as opposed to, say, someone who's racing to the finish line where they're like,
there's
oh,
a
there's
mode
a
for that.
crown, let's jump to it.
There is
What's
a
that?
mode for that.
Woo.
Yeah.
Race for the crowd. I like it. Tell me about that mode as well. Describe it to me.
So that special mode is basically you have a starting location and then you're given 3 choices and then 2 choices and then the crown location. So you're kind of like, making your way through and then it's meant to be it's the one shot style, right?
Mm.
And leveling up works different in that case because you don't have time to actually like accrue successes and failures. So you just get stuff every time you move.
What's a mechanic in here that's maybe unique to other games that I played, or one that you're particularly proud of?
One that I'm proud of.
Or one that's unique to the game. Yeah.
I really like the objects of power, which are basically we just talked about one variant rule sets. So there's that one. There's a rule set specifically for single player, like single players. I mean, with a GM still, but like one-on-one basically. There's a special rule set for that. There's a rule set for everyone in the garden being puppets or like stuffed animals, sort of like Winnie the Pooh style.
Push mode.
Like it's just there's all kinds of fun different modes that are both either thematic or uh, mechanical. Like there's one that just gets rid of dice and you play with
Like that.
pools.
Like swimming pools, or never mind.
No.
So where did the inspiration for the Garden of the Giants come from?
Funnily enough, okay, so inspirations. It started out as a mouse guard hack, which explains the mouse and the animal stuff and all that. Um, but the real inspiration was that I wanted to run a game where if fighting happened, no one really got hurt. I wanted like a very like nice, whimsical, adventure.
Calvin and Hobbes tussle.
Yeah, and
Scratches, but no bleeding.
there's a sidebar specifically talking about that.
And now you also did all the artwork for the book.
Yes.
You also did like 90% of the artwork in my book. So let's talk a little bit about art as a background.
90.
Were you always just sort of a I don't know. I did the math. I'm lying. I didn't do the math. I counted every sketch. So were you always just sort of a doodler, a sketcher, or did you take art growing up, or where did it come from?
I took 2 years of art in high school. and got kicked out of the third.
Why did they kick you out of the third?
um because they didn't give me assignments. They just said do art, and that didn't work for me.
Just you can see the logic. You're like, all right. You come in just tap dancing one day.
Yeah.
This is technically art as a form of expression. Sorry, that's my
I
river dance noise.
I ended up leaving and then just taking another what are they called? I took a second technical theater class, which my technical theater teacher was glad to have me because I knew how to build things.
And then you went on you worked in theater for quite some time. Tell me about uh, a memorable experience working in theater.
I played the crocodile in Peter Pan.
Yes.
I worked backstage. I was I was a stagehand, and they're like, Ethan, you're the only person here among cast and crew who will fit in this suit. We need you to crawl around on stage. And I was too slow at crawling, so I brought in a skateboard the next day and laid on it, which led to me having to develop a system with one of the pirates where they would hit me on the side of the head if I needed to turn in that direction. Because one night I did almost fall into the pit.
Go into the pit. Yes. That's quite a tumble, especially when costumed as an alligator. Now,
In a literal cage.
What are some theatrical elements you think would be fun to add to live stream actual play or pre-recorded actual play?
Lighting. Oh my god, do I want to do lighting in a ttrpg show? I'd be so because I was a carpenter and stagehand for most of my time, but in my like last 4 or 5 years that I worked, I mostly did lighting. So I like picked up a lot of stuff, and you can do lots of really cool things with it. I worked a show of Secret Garden with a lighting designer we had never worked with before, and there was this really cool effect that he would do where he used scrims and side light to make ghosts appear out of nowhere. They were on stage the entire like that entire scene, and they just sort of fade in as they sung the chorus and then fade out. Nice. And it was beautiful.
Oh, yeah, that's powerful stuff right there using light. Back when I was training in cinematography, we talk about scenes in The Godfather, how Gordon Willis, the cinematographer, used light and changing the color of light to reveal what characters were thinking. Mm-hmm. They're like, no, you know what the character's thinking because of he slides the orange gel right as the character makes the decision that I'm going to do a murder, and then pulls the trigger. So it's a powerful storytelling mechanism. Now, is there any particular rule set you would like to see played where you have control over the lighting effects?
Oh,
or top three.
Top three? It'd be really fun to do in Yellow King, just because you could splash someone with yellow as soon as they had to make a composure check.
That's fun.
Right? Like, you've seen the yellow sign. Like, it's yellow.
No.
Honestly, it'd just be fun to do some dramatic stuff in D&D, like any sort of normal adventure sort of stuff. I think that'd just be fun to figure out and do in a because I've done lighting for live show, like improv things as well, and you just have a bunch of switches and you flip them as you go along.
Is there a particular campaign setting that you particularly would like to do the lighting for?
You know what it'd be? Like the oh gosh, what's the one in Cholt?
Oh yeah, well Cholt, yeah, that's in the Forgotten Realms, but that's dinosaurs and.
Well, specifically because there's Cholt and then there's the big mega dungeon, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's the
Tomb of
Annihilation down
Annihilation. There. I think that would be a lot of fun just to do a dungeon crawl, because you could create atmosphere with lighting, right? Make the rooms feel different as you sort of explore. Sure. You have, open air spaces and dark, dank dungeons full of death.
Where can we find you online, Ethan?
You can find me on Twitter at Super Robot Bear.
All right. Well, so check out Ethan's Kickstarter, Backing on Backer Kit. This is Grant Ellis, and this has been 10
It ends in like 10 hours. We got 10 hours.